Look, so happy Friday, but and look, here's what's funny is in about 30 minutes I gotta go to Jack Clement's old studio on Belmont, which has been remodeled and is beautiful. But we go up to the studio and we're rehearsing with Dennis Quaid. I'm doing a Dennis Quaid show. He's an old buddy and a great dude, just a blast to hang out with, as you can imagine. We're doing a gig in Chicago on July 19th. So it'll be Berklee College of Music on the 15th, 2 nights in New York City, 16th and 17th at the bitter end with the trio, which please spread the word. There's still some tickets left for that one. That's going to be a great show. And then I'll probably fly right to Chicago on the 18th and hang out and get ready for the Dennis Quaid show on the 19th. I'm not sure where that's at yet. I'll find out today, but looking forward to hanging with Mike Bubb, Pete Abbott, Dennis Quaid, and myself for this band. And we'll have David Ferguson, the famous engineer and producer here with Johnny Cash and all those guys, Dan Auerbach and everybody. Rick Rubin, he's worked with everybody. He'll be along as our moral support and tour manager. It's going to be a blast, man. This is what I love, working with great people that are your friends, playing great music, and it doesn't hurt to have a character like Dennis thrown into the mix as well. So look, you can see what I did on what that little opening, just improvisation there, improvisation. I just stayed on 3 strings. So I want to show you something here, guys. I'm always going to go back to the fundamentals, as you know, because that's what works. This isn't clickbait. This isn't me trying to sell you, learn how to solo in 10 minutes, because that's not going to work. But this is a way to start seeing this stuff. So I'm going to show you, look, just how to go from G to C to D on 3 strings. And we're going to look at these 3 strings, and then maybe down the road look at these other 3 strings. But right now, just take these top 3 strings, the E, the B, the E, the B, and the G string, right? So if I'm in the key of G and I'm playing this big bar chord, I'm going to reduce it down to these top 3 strings. That's your major triad in G, out of this big chord, but we're just focusing on 3 strings. That's your 3rd, that's your 5th, that's your root, that's your tonic, your G. So we're in the key of G. So a common thing that's happening here is I think people aren't realizing when you change chords in a song, you're not changing keys. Unless you modulate, which is a new 5, and then you go to a new key, that's a whole different thing. That's a key change. But when you're in a country song or a blues song or a rock song and you're playing, you know, you're in the key of G. When you switch to the C chord, you're not changing keys, but you are changing chords. So you have to honor that chord change and be very aware of that and really use your ear. You know, this is all about using your ear, and it's all about thinking about music in a language, the parallel of a language, because you are communicating something through a sound, right? The more I think about this, the more those things are so lined up, you know. You're trying to create phrases and words to communicate something. So if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And so that's how we're trying to kind of look at this. And that's what I'm trying to rewire your brains a little bit to get back to the fundamentals and the foundation of what all this really is. It's not a math problem. It's just how do we make music, right? So we got to wrap our heads around a few of these things. So right here on these 3 strings, there's G. Well, if that's my G there and my C is here in the A shape, and then we'll get to the D here in the C shape, D chord, everything's right there. G, C, D, G. So if I go here and really reduce that down to the smallest parts, there's the G, there's my C, G, D, G, right? So now we start getting into these little things. Okay, well, let's look at what notes are really moving to change that. So when I do this, the G note is still staying because now that's the 5 of C, that's the 3 of C, and that's the root of C. Now that's a C triad. Back to G. There's my D. Well, the D has still stayed there because that's now the root of the D chord. There's my 5th, there's my D, there's my 3rd, right? So there's not much moving around here. So once you get the, you know, your pentatonic, there's your C, bare bones, but then D, you're familiar with the notes. You're not hitting that one or this one. You know the notes because we've gone through the arpeggios and the pentatonics, and the chord is the foundation, and the major scale. You got to know that stuff inside and out, and you got to be in the right hand position. This is crucial. The hand positions are the most important part of the cage system or your chord inversions, because if you're in the right hand position, your hand's going to land, your fingers are going to land where they're supposed to, way easier than if you're searching around and you don't know what chord is underneath there. And so if I'm here, there's little melodies inside of that already. This is what's moving around. So watch, if I start messing around here and go, you know, that's a great one. So I'm note leading a little bit from D, resolving to the G, right? So we're using these notes in the chords, the 1, 3, and the 5. We're separating them from the chordal approach, which is all the notes played together to create one sound. We're taking that approach away and we're playing single notes. So lead guitar and chords and all that stuff, they're not separate. They're all the same thing. I'm looking at this as all one thing. So we got to really get into that. So if I'm here, now I might take these 2 notes. So if I take this D chord, granted, all this is on these 3 strings. I'm not moving from these 3 strings the whole time. But now I'm playing just 2 of them. I'm just playing the root, the 3rd and the 5th. So if I slide down here, that makes a D7. Then open is G, because that's just the major scale. So there's C, right? Now I might play a bass note here or there just so you can hear the chord, but the stuff that I'm wanting to show you is on these 3 strings. Now I might not play all 3 strings. I might play just these 2, like I showed you just now, the major, 3rd, and the 5th for that harmony, or I might play the 3rd and the root. So there's different ways to manipulate this. What I'm showing you is how much stuff you can do with just those 3 strings. So if I go here, if I go all the way up the arpeggio, but instead of going, I'm going to go, because that adds a little bit more melody to it. So that's going to C. that's G, right? So there's my C, back up C, change to G, right? Now watch. So that now becomes like a flat 7 of the D. So that's how these melodies are connected, right? Now watch, here's G7. Oh, sorry. Because there's my big G7. So if I go, now guess what? There's C7 because I took the root down a whole step. There's the big chord. Back to G. Now watch. There's D7. That little line. Right back to G. So there's all this stuff. Right out of 3 strings. But you got to hear this. The little melody and things like that, right? So the little melodies. So if I'm going G to G7, there's C7, but you can hear I'm targeting those. Go from the flat 7 of G to the major 3rd of C. That insinuates the chord change, right? So I'm saying targeting those chord tones. And this is a great way to look at it. Look, here's D7. So this is a great line. D, there's D7. That's a D7. So is this. But this is a different way to arrange it out of this shape. It's keeping this hand position playing intact, right? That's all just 3 strings. Watch, C, C minor. G, now watch. That's D7. Then you can do it up here. Here's your G. There's C. There's G. There's D7 because great little stuff here. There's your flat 7. F to C. But you can hear those harmonies happening, right? So I'm just going to go freestyle here for a minute and show you what you can do and give you some examples just over those 3 strings. I don't have a whole lot of time this morning, but I wanted to get something to you. I've been just trying to figure out how to make this stuff simpler and really compartmentalize and break these chords down into these usable parts. Look, a little off the subject, but here's another great thing. This triad, like I said earlier, you can take it, you can use all 3 notes, or you can use these 2, or these 2. So that's the B and the G string. You should learn the major scale. And then on the E and the G string. You gotta know that, right? So just these little lift those 3 strings. Here again. That gets a little tricky when you go to that 2 minor. But anyway, that's the idea. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. I don't expect you to play that all at once, but that's what you can do with just the 3 strings, because you're getting the triads. So all the notes you need to mark the chords are there. All you're doing when you go from these sets of strings to these sets, the proper triads, it's all the same notes. They're just rearranged. So you're getting, you're getting the same amount of use. You just have more territory to work with. You can do a lot with just the 3 strings because it's all you need. There's your root, your fifth, your third. There's your major scale. You got your flat sevens, your minors. You can build all those sounds with just those 3 notes and those 3 strings. So try to get into this 3-string thing, and we'll work more on this. I'll go to the next set of strings and the next set. We'll work through a few of these things. But hey guys, I hope you got something out of that. Don't forget, keep it simple. The best music I've ever heard has been really simple music and melodic, right? So just get into the relationship. Play G to D7, G minor to D7. Get the 1 to the 5 relationship. That's something that's going to be recurring for the rest of your life. So just these little tools like that, right, guys? All right, look, thanks a million for the comments. The channel is growing really fast and nicely. That's just going to keep me inspired to keep doing more of this. So the donations, man, thank you guys so much for those. I'll be going in, and for some reason, PayPal won't let me send a message to say thank you. And so I got to get that figured out. But I'm saying thank you here. Really appreciate it. If you are getting something out of these lessons, they are free, and they do take some time to do. So if you feel like hitting that tip jug, that's awesome. Donations. It helps me stay inspired and lets me know you guys really appreciate this stuff. And all these concepts that I teach hold true. I'm not changing my plan. I'm not changing to go here, go there, try to get some clickbait or something like that. This is what really works. Just put the time in and you're going to see that this stuff helps. The chord's the foundation, the arpeggio is the next, the pentatonic is the next, then the major scale, and then you're on to improvising and playing music. So keep that in mind. Thanks a million. Comment below if you have any questions or concerns or anything I can help you with. Maybe not concerns, but any questions and stuff. So look, guys, thanks a million. We'll see you real soon. I'm off to rehearse with Dennis Quaid and our fine band. All right, y'all. Cheers.